Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome into another edition of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. We have got a lot to go over tonight. I am looking forward to talking about it all with you. I, of course, am your host, Adam Karnick, here on Chi-Town Weekly with you every single week. We're going to be talking about starting things off with the Bears. Training camp is here. Oh, it's wonderful. We are just that much closer to football. Plus, the Bears were busy over the weekend. Somebody is no longer on the team. We will break down that trade, and there was news up north that broke earlier today that, of course, will affect the Bears. We will talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Finally, he's back. Eloy Jimenez makes his return to the White Sox tonight in Kansas City. Jimenez, of course, got injured back in training camp. Originally, they thought he might miss the entire season. There's 63 games left to go, and here he is. What will that mean for Rick Hahn when it comes to the trade deadline later this week? We will also discuss Yermin Mercedes and the retirement that apparently wasn't. And then finally, the Olympics kicked off this past weekend. Let's take a peek around the games and see what some of the Illinois athletes might be up to. All that and more here on Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle up, let's have some fun. And once again, welcome on into the show. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day or your week to be spending time talking sports here with us in the best sports city in the United States. Before we go any further, of course, we should acknowledge our sponsor for the week, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. Follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, or find them on Facebook at Southern California Warriors. And IE Sports Radio, of course, we are on all of the major social platforms at IE Sports Radio across Twitter, Instagram, and search us on Facebook at IE Sports Radio, or check out our website, iesportsradio.com. And you can interact with myself and the show on Twitter as well. The show is at IESRC, and my personal Twitter handle is at Adam_Karnick. So a lot of different things that we're going to be talking about in the show tonight, but let's start things off with my personal favorite, football. Football, of course, has the longest off season, so when we get to actually talk about some legit football Bears news, I just cannot help myself but get right into it. So, over the weekend, the Bears finally were able to make a move and send Anthony Miller to Houston. Miller was a guy that had been rumored for weeks, and even before the draft back in April, that this is somebody that the Bears are going to be looking for moving. Of course, he had a huge breakout rookie season in 2018, catching 7 touchdowns, but never really was able to be consistent out there on the field. Never was able to blossom and take that next step like they hoped he would. Maturity was an issue with him, where he just couldn't be relied upon, couldn't be counted upon to be where he needed to be, or run the route he needed to run, or do what was expected of him. And that ultimately showed itself most obviously in the most recent playoff loss to the Saints, where he got ejected for punching a Saints player. And that was leading into the week where the Bears coaching staff had emphasized to the wide receivers that, look, we know that this guy over on the Saints likes to be an instigator. He got Javon Wims during the regular season. Be on the lookout. Don't retaliate. Just turn the other cheek and head back. And instead, Miller retaliated and got himself tossed out of the game. The compensation finally just became official earlier today. The trade was announced yesterday, but all that anybody was saying was, it was late round picks. Finally, we got confirmation earlier this afternoon. The Bears sent Miller and a 2022 7th round pick to Houston, and in exchange for Houston sending Chicago a 5th round pick in 2022. All said and told, that's not bad. That's not bad. A 5th round pick for a guy that you may not even have kept on the roster this season. I'll be honest, I have not looked at what the cap implications would have been had the Bears cut him. As it is, trading him, they do save $1.2 million against the cap. There's about $500,000 in dead cap space that they won't be able to use this season. But still, they've freed up almost 3 times that in this trade. I'll be honest, I don't know if they would have saved the same amount had they cut him. But with all the moves that the Bears made to try and shore up the wide receiver room this offseason, signing Marquise Goodwin, most recently from San Francisco after he sat out last season, Demetrius Byrd coming over from New England, and then drafting Daz Newsome in the 6th round this year. It was going to be tough for Miller, who doesn't play special teams, to carve out a consistent spot for himself on this roster with this team. So good for Ryan Pace to be able to get something. I was a little surprised that the trade came down now. I expected when it came down, it was, somebody for Houston must have gotten hurt. But looking through the briefs from the Texans, it doesn't look like anybody for Houston got hurt. This just looks like they were, all right, we'll take a flyer on this kid. A 5th round pick's kind of an expensive flyer to take on somebody, but all right, they were happy with the compensation. Overall, I'm happy with it. It is... I don't want to toss Ryan Pace under the bus for this one. He did trade up to get Miller in 2018. Right away, it looked like it was a great move. He didn't have a ton of catches, but he was a very reliable target in the red zone. 7 touchdown catches as a rookie. He finished, I think, with just 4 more in his final 2 seasons with the Bears. But it looked at first like it was going to pay off. It just, unfortunately, the coaching staff wasn't able to get through to him to get consistency out of him and the results you would have wanted and you would have liked to have seen. So I don't really want to hammer Pace. I've seen some people, just chalk this one up as, traded up for Trubisky in 2017, he's gone. Traded up for Anthony Miller in 2018, now he's gone. All these extra picks you've wasted on guys that are now playing on other teams. I don't want to do that here with Ryan Pace. I think Miller's a kid that needed a change of scenery, and you were able to get something for him. A 5th round pick isn't a great return on investment, obviously, but it's better than just outright cutting him, which I think was he was a very likely candidate to simply get cut at the end of training camp. The other wide receiver then, a couple other wide receivers then who have got to be put on notice with this move, the aforementioned Javon Wims and then Riley Ridley. I think those are two wide receivers as we get into training camp. Those are two guys that have got to start showing that they belong on this team because they brought in three guys this offseason. You typically only carry 5 wide receivers. Some teams will only carry 4. Occasionally you'll see a 6th. But you know Robinson's making the team. You know Darnell Mooney's making the team. Goodwin, Bird, and Daz Newsome you would think would all be likely to make the roster spot. So for Wims and Ridley, they've got to show that they've got a place on this team now at this point. And I think Anthony Miller getting traded may also maybe send a message, maybe not send a message, but reinforce a message to those two guys that you've got to earn a spot on this team in this wide receiving room. That it's just because you're an incumbent veteran and you've been here for a couple of years doesn't automatically mean that you are safe on this roster. So it was a long time coming on the move. Interesting timing, but ultimately you got something for somebody that you probably weren't going to be using too much this season. Some other notes as we get into training camp mode with the Bears. Rookies have already reported. Veterans are in the process of reporting, and practices start up in earnest tomorrow up at Hallis Hall for the Bears. Tariq Cohen and Daz Newsome will both start off training camp on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. Cohen, of course, is still finishing up his recovery from ACL surgery last season. He tore his ACL in Week 3 against the Falcons. Not 100% yet, obviously, as his starting off on the PUP list. We'll see, will that go all the way through training camp? Hopefully it will not carry into the regular season at all, but it might affect his training. It's obviously going to affect his training camp schedule a little bit. We'll see how much of it he misses. And then Daz Newsome, the rookie wide receiver, he got injured. He injured his shoulder during rookie mini camp. The hope was that he would be back in time for the start of training camp. Obviously, that's not quite going to happen as he's opening up on the PUP list. Interesting thing to note there is those are the two guys that were most likely to be your punt returners and possibly even kickoff return men to start the season. So to have both of those guys start off on the PUP list, you're already right out of the gate down to your third string punt returner and kick returner. So we'll see who's able to step up in those. Might be an opportunity for fellow rookie Khalil Herbert to make some noise. Maybe Marquise Goodwin or one of the corners on the roster. We'll see who jumps into that third punt returner and kick returner role for the Bears as training camp gets started. Of course, the big thing that I'm going to be looking forward to, and I'm sure everybody's going to be looking forward to, is just seeing what Justin Fields looks like out there with in his first professional training camp. As how much work has he put in this offseason since rookie camp, since the veteran mini camp? How does he look out there? Who does he have a rapport with? Who is he? How well is he recognizing the plays? Is he calling out the offense? I still feel like I can't shake the feeling that Fields is going to wind up taking the job from Andy Dalton by the end of camp. Something in me tells me that that's going to happen. We've heard Coach Nagy talk about that it's Andy's job to lose, and Andy's going to open week 1 as the starter, and Dalton's the guy because of the fact that he's such an experienced veteran, and there's so many things that Fields hasn't gone through yet because he's a rookie and he hasn't even played a game yet. You look at how much the Bears placed an emphasis on their speed offensively with Goodwin and Bird and Daz Newsome and Damian Williams, running back, who he sat out last year, but before that he won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, and just other moves that the Bears have made in trying to get faster on offense, and how the deep, and Darnell Mooney has speed, and you see how the Bears want to be able to stretch the field to force defenders to have to backpedal and give space and open up space. Andy Dalton's not a great deep ball thrower. Justin Fields is a phenomenal deep ball thrower. That just makes me think and feel that they're just not going to be able to help themselves, and they're going to wind up going to Fields because he's going to be able to hit those deep passes and recognize those deep passes so much more consistently and easily, and it's going to just benefit the offense from having that skill set out there on the field. Never mind the running and the elusiveness and the just sheer athletic ability that Justin Fields, as a young man in his early 20s, has compared to Andy Dalton, a man in his mid-30s, has. And Dalton was never a big athletic guy to begin with, and now that he's got 10 years of NFL experience under him, he's less athletic. Never put aside all that. I think just the deep ball in and of itself is going to be something that Nagy's just not. He's not going to have a choice. He's going to look at it and say, "Gosh, I need that out on the field. I need to see this. I need to have this in my offense sooner rather than later." And I still think that at this point, Justin Fields winds up starting week 1. But as we get into training camp, we'll see how well he has absorbed the offense. We'll see all the other things. I gave you a rundown last week of things that we're going to be looking for in training camp. Going to be looking at the offensive line. How does Tevin Jenkins look at left tackle? Who's going to wind up being the odd man out on the interior? You've got James Daniels coming back from injury. Sam Mustipher looked really good at center last year. You've got Alex Barr coming back. You've got some other pieces there at the guard position. You've got 4 guys that you feel could do the job of interior offensive linemen, but you've only got 3 spots, so we'll see who kind of winds up getting settled in there in that spot. And then, of course, all the defensive holes that we talked about. Nose tackle with Eddie Goldman, who winds up being the elite pass rusher opposite Khalil Mack, and how does the secondary look when this thing all gets put together? So lots of things to be paying attention to and looking to as we get started for training camp. But, man, it's here. Training camp is upon us. We are one step closer to NFL football. I am excited. I am geared up for it. Man, here we go. I did want to touch one last thing before we hit a break, keeping with the football theme. If you didn't see the news earlier today, Aaron Rodgers has reportedly worked out a deal with the Packers where effectively the Packers are going to void the final year of his contract. Rodgers was technically attached to the Packers through next season, but there was no guaranteed money in the 2022 year of his deal. He worked out a deal with the Packers where this is it. This is going to be his last year They rearranged and reorganized some of the money, but this is going to be it for Rodgers. He will report on time, and he will be the starting quarterback, but then he has the ability to walk away from the organization after this season, and you got to believe that that's what's going to happen. On the one hand, I'm disappointed because it means that the drama is over up in Green Bay. I was looking forward to more drama, and it does mean that Rodgers is you put Rodgers on that team, hands down the Packers are the favorite to win the division. I see Taryn in the chat asking me to fill in the blank. The Bears make the playoffs and have a deep playoff run if. I'll get to that. I'll answer your first question. If Aaron Rodgers fully stays on the Packers, how do the Bears win the division? Yeah. They win the division if Aaron Rodgers him basically taking the entire offseason off really puts him behind the 8 ball, and it takes the Packers a few weeks to get going. But we've seen that before from the Packers, that they take 4, 5, 6 weeks to really get going, and then once Rodgers gets clicking and gets going, there's just almost no stopping him. So I don't really see, with Rodgers coming back, the Packers are the prohibitive favorites to win the NFC North. That's okay. The Bears are in a little bit of a transition year this year. I talked last week that I think the Bears are going to somehow wind up in that 7-10 win range by the time things are all said and done, which puts them on the fringe of the playoffs. They make a deep playoff run if Justin Fields comes into play and is the guy and is the franchise quarterback that the scouts saw him to be and the pundits kind of recognized him to be, and he is that generational talent, and he gets it right away from Jump Street. Then I think the Bears can make a deep playoff run. Also, I think what will also have to happen for the Bears to make a deep playoff run is the questions on the defensive side of the ball have to come up, that Eddie Goldman is good to go at the nose tackle position, that somebody winds up taking over in that other edge spot across from Khalil Mack, whether it be Robert Quinn or Tevin Gibson or somebody. Somebody has to step up and be that consistent other guy coming from the linebacking level. And then finally, the secondary can't be a liability with no Kyle Fuller. You've got to have Jalen Johnson's got to be the number 1 guy. You've got to have somebody that can lock down the number 2 spot, and Eddie Jackson's got to become the ball hawk that he was. So if those things happen, if Justin Fields indeed is the guy and the defense can maybe not necessarily be a top 5 unit in the NFL, but certainly be a top 10 unit in the NFL, can return to form, then I think the Bears make a deep playoff run. But with Aaron Rodgers coming back, the Packers should be the favorites in the NFC North, but I'm okay with that. This was going to be an in-between year for the Bears anyway. All right, Aaron, do your thing. Have your grand finale, your grand hurrah with the Packers. Be gone, and then hopefully the Bears will be in a position next season to really take over and take command of this division starting in 2022. All right, with that, let's take a short break here, and then when we come back, there is somebody coming back and making his season debut tonight. We will be talking White Sox next here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back and in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on the WaitAMinuteShow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
To the Soccer Scoreboard Show with your host, Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week, I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world, from the English Premier League to the World Cup to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard Show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Once again, I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you again so much for taking time out of your day to talk sports with me. Eloy Jimenez is back for the White Sox. Let's wind the tables back to spring training. Jimenez, you may remember, he tore his pectoral muscle in his left shoulder, and it was thought that he would miss almost the entire season. Originally, the diagnosis was he would have to go 5 to 6 months with basically no baseball activity, and then he would need probably the better part of a month to get ramped back up and get used to swinging and playing baseball again. And so you were talking almost certainly September before he would be back. Instead, we are just before the trade deadline. It is July 26th. And not only is Jimenez back playing baseball, he's with the White Sox tonight. He joined the club officially today down in Kansas City. They're getting ready. First pitch is in about 30 minutes from now. And Jimenez is in the lineup. He will be the designated hitter tonight. Manager Tony La Russa said he will be playing left field tomorrow, but expect Jimenez to be doing a lot of DH duty going forward. And that makes sense. That feels right for Jimenez. He was always a suspect left fielder at first anyway out there. Part of the reason he got hurt in the first place was he was trying to make a play. He slammed himself into the wall on a ball that he had absolutely no business going for. It was a surefire home run, and he just kind of threw himself up against the wall in a vain effort to maybe try and catch the ball. He's had his difficulties out there in left field. I would fully expect Jimenez to spend the bulk of this season as the DH. They've had Andrew Vaughn out there in left field the last couple of weeks here in July. He's absolutely been tearing the cover off the ball and been playing a very respectable left field. So keep him there. Don't take that bat out of the lineup. You can use Jimenez. You can still get him in there. Thank goodness for the DH. Yes, they'll have to play him from time to time because Jose Abreu will need a breather at first base every now and again. You'll need to, mix and match a little bit with some guys, but for the most part, Jimenez should be the DH. He played 12 games down in AAA in the minor league rehab. Look at these numbers. He hit .289, had a .327 on-base percentage, and a .467 slugging. That is an OPS of just over 800. You'll take that. Or just under 800. You will take that every time. He's ready to come up. He's ready to contribute, ready to produce. There's not much more else you were gonna get from him down in the minors. Good for Eloy. The Sox, that's going to be a terrific bat for them to have back in the lineup. For all the great things the Sox have been doing this season, they have not hit a lot of home runs in an era where the home run ball is truly king across MLB. The White Sox have been one of the lowest teams at that. They have the second fewest home runs in the American League. So having Eloy's bat in there is certainly going to help that. This is a guy who, in 63 games, and obviously he probably won't play every single one of them, but let's just say he plays in 50 of them. He's certainly a guy that could, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gives you 20 home runs between now and the end of the regular season. He's got that kind of power. He's got that kind of bat. I would not be surprised if he had 20 home runs between now and the end of September. So it's going to just be a great boost for this team. And it's almost like cheating because you were thinking, oh, Rick Hahn, you're going to have to go out and trade for somebody. How are you going to help this team out to make sure you get a deep playoff run? you're getting him back shortly before the trade deadline. This is one less thing you need to go out and look at getting if you're Rick Hahn. Yes, there's still pieces to look at. You've still got a hole at second base. Adam Frazier was a guy that had been targeted to the White Sox for several weeks. The Pirates, eventually, they did trade him yesterday. They traded him out to the Padres in San Diego, so scratch him off the list for the White Sox. So now they've got to be looking around and look at some different avenues to maybe try and go get themselves a second baseman to rent for the rest of the season, since, of course, Nick Magical's not coming back. But Eloy, you don't necessarily need to, now you don't need to necessarily go out and get maybe a huge guy there at second base. You could get somebody that can just give you consistency. You know, maybe doesn't need to necessarily be your offensive leader, but can be just a guy that gives you consistency, gives you an at bat, 4 or 5 at bats every night that you can count on being professional. That he'll take his pitches, he'll put some balls in play. He's not going to hold you back. So along those lines, I do think that means that any dreams of Javi Baez from the Cubs to the White Sox, I don't think that'll happen. I didn't really think it was going to happen anyway, but I think now you can almost certainly take that off the table for what the White Sox really need at this point out of a second baseman. So I think again that frees up Rick Hahn to then look at shoring up the bullpen, really getting the bullpen squared away and figured out. We saw a great example of it yesterday in the game against the Brewers that Tony La Russa wound up using his closer, Liam Hendriks, for 2 innings and not just the ninth. That he went from Lance Lynn, who had a phenomenal game last night, to Michael Kopech, straight to Liam Hendriks, and Hendriks got the 2-inning save, the 6-out save last night. That's fantastic that Hendriks can do that, and that's something that we've known Hendriks is capable of doing. He's done that before, but it's just good to see it in the right spot in the regular season. And obviously you're probably going to see some of that in the postseason, but you got a lot of games between now and then. It would be good to keep the 6-out saves to a minimum for Hendriks now in the regular season. Save those bullets. Save that for October when you're really going to need it. So I would still like to see Hahn be aggressive, get some relief pitcher, shore up the bullpen a bit so that you don't need to always go to Kopech and go to Hendriks, that you can mix and match a little bit and keep as many guys fresh as possible for the postseason. I do think that Kopech and Hendriks are going to be the postseason workhorses for the bullpen. And this is so cool for the White Sox. Here on July 26th, we're not quite to the trade deadline, but you can realistically be talking about a postseason run for the Sox. They've got a 9-game lead on the American League Central, biggest in baseball, and really there's nobody else in the division that really should be threatening them. The Sox, they should coast through the second half. They should have this thing locked up and just work in September on getting things set up for your postseason run. So you can be a little greedy here. You can be a little obnoxious with it and just say, yeah, who do we need for a postseason run? Let's set this up. Kopech and Hendriks, yes, you've got your 2 big-time, big-name horses for the postseason, but let's get them some help. Let's make sure that we don't burn those guys out in August and September just getting to the postseason when you're going to make it. So get in some help, get in some reinforcement for that postseason. I also want to throw some credit Tony La Russa's way. Tony La Russa, he used Hendricks in the 8th inning last night. Earlier this season, I got on Tony La Russa's case quite a bit. Not understanding the extra inning rules in a game against the Reds, being a guy that bristles against the analytics and the, hey, here's how the game has changed since you last had this position. He has done an excellent job these last, really 2 months, really since the incident in Cincinnati of not knowing the rules. He has done an excellent job of keeping this team together and getting this team in a position to win. Obviously, some credit for this next part has to go to Rick Hahn and the organizational depth that they've had, but La Russa has had to juggle a lot of injuries and a lot of putting guys into positions that they're not necessarily comfortable in or used to playing in, be it Jake Berger in left field or Andrew Vaughn in left field, or having a catcher who's not, who's got a batting average in the 150s or 160s, yet he's got an OPS of in the 700 or 800s in Yasmani Grandal. Having Grandal get hurt, he's juggled all these things, and the Sox find themselves with a 9-game lead in the Central, and La Russa has stepped out of the limelight. We haven't talked about him a lot because he hasn't been screwing up. He's been doing great things with the team, with the lineup, night in and night out, and it's been working. So I actually have been meaning to do this for the last couple of weeks, but I'm doing it tonight. Kudos to Tony La Russa for keeping the Sox ship not just afloat, but allowing these guys to play at their best night in and night out and get the team in the position they are. Now you're getting Eloy Jimenez back. I hope this thing takes off for the Sox. It'll be really fun and exciting to be talking about a deep White Sox postseason run here in a couple of months and have that compete against the Bears for airtime week in and week out. So kudos to Tony La Russa and the job that he's done these last couple of months. Keep it up. Obviously, there's still work to be done, but keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing in TLR. All right, real quick before we get out of here on the White Sox, Yermin Mercedes. You may remember he got off to the amazing start in April and then plateaued a little bit in May before just dropping off in June. And a segue with him, he was the guy that Tony La Russa almost literally threw under the bus for swinging at a 3-0 pitch against the Twins and hitting a home run. Mercedes has been spending the last couple of months down in AAA, and last week, you may have seen it, he abruptly announced his retirement from baseball. You could understand being 28 years old, finally making his MLB debut this season, having some success right away, and then ultimately winding up in the minors before they even got to the All-Star break. That could be incredibly frustrating and made him think that, you know what, maybe I need to just step back and step away. 24 hours later, he was back in the AAA lineup, back on the roster in AAA. Strange thing there with Mercedes. You get all kinds of characters in all walks of life, and it's cool that baseball is starting to embrace that a little bit. Mercedes is obviously a little bit of an odd duck. I I wonder how much he will honestly make it this season, if he will get called back up or if he'll stay back down. His bat has been he's been doing so down in the minors. Interesting situation there though with Mercedes, where it's got to be a record for the shortest retirement ever. Not barely 24 hours later, he was back at it on the diamond. So an odd situation there with Mercedes. It'll be interesting to see if the Yerminator comes back at all this season for the Sox. All right, we're going to take one more quick break, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about the Olympics a little bit. The 2020 Olympic Games finally started now that it's July of 2021. Let's take a look at how Team USA overall has been doing, and let's spotlight some Illinois Olympians a little bit. This is Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dentarius Lava.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys spending time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
love college football? And do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college, and the CCCAA, and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then, look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Aaron Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Want to give one more quick shout out to our sponsor again for this week, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or Facebook Southern California Warriors. And thank you once again to the Warriors for continuing to sponsor us here at IE Sports Radio. It is very much appreciated. All right, as our friend and colleague Larry B. likes to say a lot during his show, I wish I could cue the music right now. It's the Olympics. Whenever I hear the Olympics, that John Williams music just runs through my head. I play the trumpet a little bit and just wanting to play. I'm not good enough to play that music, that run. There were different time, different story. We'll get into that on a later date. But that music always runs through my head whenever it gets to Olympic time, and it is here. Of course, the 2020 games had to get delayed by a year thanks to the pandemic, but they are here now. And the U.S. team, we've had some ups and downs to kind of get started a little bit. I'm going to be, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be trying to highlight some of the different things going on overall in the games, but also try to point out some of the different athletes from Chicago and Illinois throughout the game. You may not have known, there are 19 athletes on the U.S. Olympic team from Illinois, including one, Olivia Smoliga, who was a part in getting the U.S. women's 400-meter relay freestyle team a bronze medal the other night. Olivia did not participate in the medal race. She took part in the preliminary race right before that. She had swam the anchor leg of the relay. She got replaced right before the medal race, but she gets a medal. She got to take place with her teammates on the podium for being part of the preliminary. So congratulations to Olivia for doing that. Also, the women's 3-on-3 basketball team has been doing well. Going to be competing in the gold medal game, and one of the U.S. players is from the Chicago Sky. So congratulations to them for competing on that. So keep an eye on that. I have not watched much of the 3-on-3. I know it's a half court game, and it looks really cool. And of course, it being basketball, we in the U.S. we tend to do well at that. The men's team, on the other hand, the more traditional team, got off to a bumpy start, losing for the first time since 2004 against France. That goes to show just how much basketball has become a global game and not just the U.S. game. The days of the dream team of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley and those guys just going out there and just absolutely dominating the competition night in and night out on the Olympic stage. That's clearly and obviously over. The U.S. men's team they lost a couple of their Olympic warm-up games. Now they've lost an actual Olympic game for the first time in 3 games. You have to go back. They hadn't lost since 2004, so 2008, 2012, 2016 had gone undefeated all 3 of those Olympic games. Not going to happen this year. The U.S. obviously should still be in a position to compete for a medal, probably even the gold, but it'll be definitely something to keep an eye on, and we will be having fun doing that with the Olympics here over the next couple weeks. Something else you want to keep up with, if you want to keep up with the Olympics, one of those sports that is just known at Olympic time is volleyball. Aaron Rodriguez is coming up here in just a minute with the next episode of Set Point. He will be breaking down all kinds of volleyball for you, both the indoor and the beach volleyball going on in the Olympic Games. And this is his 100th episode that he is about to do tonight. So congratulations, Taryn, on making it to episode 100. I know you have got a big guest list set up for tonight, so thank you for spending what time you did in the chat room. But go, do your thing, man. I will be tuning in. You should too. He will get you up to date on everything going on there. All right, that is it for our show tonight. Next week, we will be talking all things trade deadline, seeing who the Cubs sold off, who the White Sox got, and of course, we will be looking at the Bears. Until then, be good. We'll see you later.